Are you someone who's trying to score a 99 percentile to get to a top B school and completely change your perspective and your career possibilities and options? Then this video is the only video you need to watch to plan your best possible attempt for CAT 2024. Hi, I'm Arun Sharma and I'm Bangalore alumnus and someone who's trained lakhs of students over the past 3 decades to the top B schools in the country. A lot of you know me through my books on CAT, which are published by McGraw-Hill and are the #1 selling books for CAT in the country. And I'm going to take you through a complete step-by-step approach to cracking the CAT so that you can score that coveted 99 percentile. First things first, in order to score a 99 percentile in CAT, the current CAT pattern, which is 66 questions across 3 sections, requires you to be able to solve around 30-35 questions correctly out of 66 to be able to get that 99 percentile score. Roughly 3 marks per question converts to around 75-80 net score to be able to get that 99 percentile. And effectively, if you can do around 30 questions correctly, you are pretty safe in getting to that score. The first thing you need to understand in that context is who is able to solve 30 questions in the exam. Only those who can solve 50 questions without exam and time pressure. And hence, that becomes your primary target when you start preparing for the exam. The primary target becomes building the ability to solve 50 questions correctly if there's no time pressure and there's no exam pressure. So across your verbal preparation, your data interpretation, logical reasoning preparation, and your quants preparation, your first phase of preparation has to be to learn how to get to the right answers in maximum number of cases. And typically, out of 24 questions in verbal, you should be able to reach a point where you can solve 16 to 18 correctly without time pressure. Out of 20 questions in data interpretation, you should be able to get to a point where you can solve about 15 questions out of 20 correctly without time pressure. And across 22 questions in quants, your first target becomes that if there's no time pressure and no exam pressure, I should be able to solve around 18 to 20 questions out of 22. And your initial part of studies is basically focused on building this ability, the capacity building to be able to do this much if you are given a CAT paper without time pressure. When you're planning your CAT prep, the first thing you need to realize is that there are 2 phases to CAT preparation. The building of ability to solve questions correctly and the building of efficiency and speed to solve them fast under pressure of time and exam. So typically, timeline-wise, your first phase of preparation where you're building ability on each of the 3 sections should ideally be over in around 3 to 4 months of preparation. Of course, it can stretch to 6 months if you are preparing a longer framework, but normally 3 to 4 months is a good enough time to actually build this kind of ability on each of the 3 sections, and that's what you should plan to do when you're talking about the ability building phase. And the second phase of performance building starts asynchronously or synchronously along with the ability building phase. So there might be a point of time during your preparation where you have started your performance building or your efficiency building in certain parts of your portions and still doing ability building. So there might be a phase where both these things are happening together. But one thing you need to understand very clearly timeline wise is your last 3-4 months of preparation have to be focused more towards the efficiency building, less on performance building, and definitely the last 2 months of preparation has to be totally focused on efficiency and mock test performance building rather than building on ability, etc. And typically, I guess you understand, if somebody is still building ability in September, October, then he or she should look at the next year's exam rather than looking at this year's exam. So please make sure that you plan your timeline correctly. It's very important if you want to prepare well. And for me, if a student asks me this question, I would typically put a deadline of end June or end July or latest 15th August, where your performance building should exclusively start during your preparation and your ability building should kind of close down by that time. So what does ability building mean and what does performance building mean? So let's take this section by section. Let's talk about quants. In quants, when a question comes in front of you, you either have the ability to solve it or don't have the ability to solve it. And when you kind of build the first method to solve a question correctly, that is the point where you move from somebody who does not know how to solve the question to become someone who knows how to solve the question. So this transition is the transition of somebody who's unable to solve the question to be able to solve the question. And once you have at least one method or maybe two methods to solve individual questions in a chapter in quants or in various chapters in quants, then you start focusing on, okay, what are the further methods or the further efficiencies on the same question or the same kind of questions? How can I stop writing more in the solution of the question? How can I calculate faster? How can I do the question one reading so that I can cut down on the time I'm taking to do this question? But as I always tell people, you need to learn to walk first before you learn to run. So in quants, when you talk about ability building, the focus is to be able to get that one method on every question. Okay, at least I know one way to solve a question. And questions which you do not know how to solve, chapters whose questions you are not very comfortable solving, you have to be able to build the ability to actually find that method. Okay, what's the way to think inside the question? Every question, maths in quants is basically a trigger-driven question. It tells you what to do. If you don't know how to do it, that means basically you don't know how to utilize the trigger that the question is saying. Likewise, in data interpretation and logical reasoning, there is a point where you are kind of unable to solve sets. DILR, as you know, everything comes in sets. So there might be a point where you have that mindset or you have that belief or that attitude that I really can't solve this kind of set, or I'm not able to get through all the steps. Typically, a data interpretation set or a logical reasoning set in CAT takes around 10 to 12 steps to do. And maybe inability to solve a question in DI or LR would mean that you might know 7 or 8 of those reactions, but 2 or 3 reactions are failing in your mind. So the movement or the shifting from a person who can't solve a set to a person who can solve a set is when you can actually do those last 2 or 3 steps, which are hindering or which are being kind of a hindrance for you to solve the set. So that transition, again, during this transition from unable to solve a set to able to solve a set, you really don't look much at time. You focus on the fact, okay, let me know how to get this right. And once you know how to get it right, and once you know how to do it without time pressure, you then say, okay, I have now become a 25-30 minute, give me a DI set, give me a LR set, I can solve it in 30 minutes without time pressure. So now then the focus on efficiency starts. And typically when you start focusing on efficiency in DI and LR, again, the focus shifts to writing less, the focus shifts to calculating faster in DI. LR, of course, is not much calculations. And the focus also shifts to solving the set in one reading. There's no need to read a second time most of the clues or most of the hints given in the question. So that's the second phase of your preparation. And likewise in verbal, in reading comprehension, again, the first focus means, okay, I get an RC passage. Do I have the ability to get all the answers correct if there's no time pressure? I allow myself to read the passage 4 times. I allow myself to read the question as many times as I want to, as I need to. And I try to find an answer based on 3 readings, 4 readings of the passage and the question. And then what is my accuracy rate with that kind of solving, in that kind of solving. And once I get to the point where I'm 95, 98, 100% accurate in non-time pressure based solving, let's say in RC or in parajumble or in odd man out or any question type in verbal, then I focus on, okay, now I need to reduce the number of readings to 1 and I still need to see that right answer. Or maybe I can drop off my efficiency from 95% to 85%. I still get 8 out of 10 questions right, 9 out of 10 questions right on normal days, in spite of the fact that I'm still trying to do it under time pressure. So you initiate the initiation of time pressure in your solving. Once you have that ability of getting 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 correct when you're doing a verbal set of questions on verbal on any question type. So building the ability is getting to that point where you can get the answer correctly. You know how to walk. You know how to get the right answer to the question. And then once you know how to get the right answer, then you focus on the efficiencies. So as I've mentioned earlier, or as I always tell people, typically your ability to solve correctly, whether it's quants, DI, LR or verbal, should kind of start closing in June, July. If you're looking at a November CAT attempt, you can run a couple of months in which you're doing some part of efficiency work and some ability work and some parts of the portion if you're not completed by that time. But efficiency work, at least 50% of the work has to be efficiency work during August, September, and by October, end of September, early October, it has to be 100% focused on efficiencies. If you are building ability in October, you are out of the race. That's as simple as I can put it. So of course, during this journey of your CAT prep, one of the most important aspects is the study resources or the study material that you utilize. And it is in that context that my books kind of fill that or have been filling that gap for a lot of students across the last 20 odd years. I mean, 2002, 2003 is when I became an author. And it's been a privilege to be one of the top authors in the country for the last 2 decades, having sold millions of copies of the book. And essentially, a lot of people want to know from me how to utilize the books. So let's take it book by book. When you talk about quantitative aptitude, the QA book is divided across 5 major blocks across 20 chapters. And typically the book has around 4,000 to 5,000 questions overall. And the way I have structured the book is level 1, level 2 and level 3 in every chapter. And the objective of the structuring of the book is that CAT, as you know, varies the level of difficulty. Sometimes you'll get a level 3 question and then you get a level 1 question and followed by 2 level 2 questions. And year-wise, slot to slot also difficulty level changes. So for me, the most important service or the most important outcome that a reader of the book should have is that he should have seen, and that's how I write my books, he or she should have seen, anybody who's done the books well, should have seen all the aspects of a particular chapter, all the variations, all the twists and turns that can be possibly given in a, let's say we pick up a quadratic equation kind of chapter. So our idea of building the question banks in quadratic equations, LOD1, level difficulty 2, level 3, is to actually ensure that when the CAT asks you any twisted question, and as you know, CAT is about twisted questions, you should have seen something similar. It's not possible for any author to predict exactly this question will come. But yes, in terms of the logic and the structures, the question banks that I create is basically built on that. And hence, when you utilize the book, so your focus, and during your preparation, your focus, of course, when you're trying to build your ability to solve quants, and you're trying to build the ability to get to one way of solving a question, you need assistance in your problem solving. So I typically talk about the dialogue or the duality between 2 things: assisted problem solving and self problem solving. So you kind of oscillate between the 2 tools, and these are the 2 tools which kind of make you learn. Of course, in quants you also learn theory, which is adequately provided in my book, and those of you looking for a course can also look at the Mindworks course, where you have put a lot of content in video form and also through our live classes. And of course, there are limitations to what a book can do versus what a video-based course or a live class-based course can do for you. So you also have that option of studying with us at Mindworks to understand the ins and outs of the exam. But broadly, in your preparation, you only have 3 methods. If I'm trying to study a chapter in quants, let's say I'm trying to study a chapter like time spread distance, what can I do? I can do theory. I can do assisted problem solving. That means I can do problem solving in an assisted form. I look at videos, I look at solved examples, I look at questions and look at the solutions. But bottom line, the last and the most important aspect of your preparation journey is the self problem solving. So any chapter, एक thumb rule, एक basic thumb rule is there, that if you can solve 250 to 300 questions on your own without assistance on any chapter of the 20 chapters in quants, so that is the day you will normally expect to be able to solve the questions that will come in the CAT. So if you're utilizing my book and you keep this perspective that you're using my book for the self-problem solving experiences that you want to create, and if you are someone who can actually, and that's the challenge I often throw to my readers, if you're someone who can actually solve all the questions in the book on your own without assistance, then you are more or less ability-wise prepared. All you need to build after that is efficiencies of how do you do these things faster. And most important for the faster part is you start focusing on solving questions, one reading, etc. So that's how you utilize the quants book during your quants prep process. Your preparation for data interpretation and logical reasoning is also oriented towards problem solving. And as like in quants, you'll have to switch between assisted and self problem solving for your data interpretation and logical reasoning for both those areas. And my books, again, the objective with which I built the question banks in the books is to give you the experience of all the kinds of twists and turns that CAT questions can give you in DI and LR. Typically, a data interpretation or logical reasoning question in the CAT, as I mentioned earlier, is about 10 to 12 steps. You will need to execute 10 to 12 steps, and out of those 10 to 12 steps, 80 to 90% of the steps are schoolboy steps. Any schoolboy can be made to understand or will understand those steps on his own, his or her own. But it's those 2 steps, those 3 steps extra, the last 2 or 3 steps, which might be embedded in between in the solution, which act are those steps that act like gatekeepers to and actually stop the normal student or the average student to get through to the answer. And as you know, if you can get through a DILR problem in the CAT, you end up getting 5 questions, 15 marks straight in the context of an exam where 75 to 80 marks gets you 99 percentile. The difference between a 92 percentile and 99 percentile could just be the fact that you were able to get through two sets in DI which your competitor was not able to. So it's going to be one of the critical aspects of your test taking on the D-Day about whether you're going to be able to get through those 10 to 12 steps on a question. And to be able to achieve that, you typically should have a self-problem solving experience of around 300 to 400 sets. So when you go through my books, whether you talk about the LR book or the DI book with the latest editions, you will see that there are chapter-based question banks first, followed by mixed question banks. And it's very important in both data interpretation and logical reasoning to actually move to the mixed question banks during your problem-solving processes. And what will happen in both these subjects is that when you try to go through 300, 400 sets, 500 sets that are provided in the book, you will have a ratio of solving. There will be a lot of questions which you will not be able to solve in the first go itself. But my advice is that, okay, when you're trying the book for the first time, you try each of the sets for 20 to 30 minutes. You try to solve it. And if you keep a 20-minute, 25-minute time limit, if you can't solve the set, just mark it mark it as something you have to come back to later in your preparation, so that you can try that set again after you've become stronger in your solving. So what happens? You take a journey of 300, 400 sets, try to solve them on your own. Along with that, you maybe create a journey of 50 to 100 assisted problem solving sets, which you are looking through solved examples, or you're looking through videos or a course like MindWorks to help you see how somebody who's structured his mind better looks at or solves the same questions which you are not able to do. So 150 sets of assisted problem solving and parallelly 300 to 400 sets of self-problem solving. So when you go through those 300, 400 sets of self-problem solving, there'll be sets which you will not be able to do. So there'll be a ratio. So there might be a ratio 70% solved, 30% not solved. If you're weak, it might be 50% solved, 50% not solved. A higher level of difficulties, where the percentage of solving will be lower. But what you do is get to the end of 300. So let's say you got a 60% ratio of solving. So at the end of 300 sets, you solved 180 sets, could not solve 120 sets. So what you do is you go back to the second round of solving these sets. And when you go back to the second round of solving these sets, do 2 things. Try those sets which you solved again for efficiency building, and also try the sets which you could not do the first time round. And you'll see that a lot of these sets which you are not able to do in the first round will start getting solved, because of the simple fact that you have become stronger. When you've done 180 sets on your own with a 60% solving ratio, you got through to the answer of 180 sets on your own. You're definitely somebody who's stronger, a stronger solver. So when you come back to the same sets in the second time, you'll realize that a lot of these sets are now getting converted into solved solutions for you. And try to reach a 90-95% solving rate. And then the last 5 to 10% questions you can ask doubts, or you can discuss with your friends or with your teachers and finish them off. And along with this work, whether it's the Quants book or the DI and the LR books, towards the end of your preparation, August, September, October time frame, the extra questions you pick will typically be from your mock tests. So you have to typically take around 50 mock tests, 40 to 50 mock tests should be your target during the journey for CAT if you want to maximize your potential. And in those 40-50 tests, you will definitely find 200 odd sets of DI. You'll find 1,000 questions more on quants, and that will kind of give you the any gaps in terms of your understanding or the ability to solve questions in DI, LR or Quants will get kind of filled by the fact that you learn. When you can't solve a question, you learn what to do so that the next time you're ready for it. And during August, September, October, timeline-wise, you will also be doing the previous year questions of CAT. So when you talk about CAT previous year questions, 1999 to 2008 are critical. 2009 to 16, nobody is given the CAT papers. They have not released the papers, so nobody has the exact papers for those years. But 2017 to 2023, you should know every question and in every paper, all the slots, and that's something that you do parallelly with your mocks, and that's what you do during efficiency building phase of your preparation. So this is the basic process of what you need to adopt. Please remember, don't get over dependent on doubt clearing. Don't get over dependent on asking people to solve, because one of the most important aspects of cracking the CAT is that inside the exam, when you're solving questions, your mind will be riddled with doubts. There'll be a lot of doubts in every question. When you're doing a step in a DI question, you have to take the question solution through 10 steps. When you're doing the second, third step, there's a doubt whether I'm doing this right or am I doing it wrong? Is this interpretation of this statement correct or wrong? And when you start having those kind of doubts, whom are you going to ask? If your process of preparation has been assisted problem solving dependent or dominant during your preparation phase, then inside the exam you don't have the doubt clearing mechanism inside your head. Whereas somebody who cracks the exam, he has built that doubt clearing mechanism. So the most important thing you want to protect or you want to build is your internal doubt clearing mechanism, and the stronger it is, the more hurdles you'll be able to cross inside the exam. And you have to be sure, I can assure you, you will be facing a lot of hurdles when you start solving the CAT paper and the timer starts in the exam. So this is the basic structure of preparation of DI, LR and Quants. Coming to verbal preparation, when you in verbal, one of the biggest problems people face is the correct resource. Because if I'm going to solve reading comprehension passages, if I'm going to solve paragraph jumble questions, or if I'm going to solve odd man out of summary questions, where there's an ambiguity, and verbal mein kya 2 plus 2 to hota nahi hai. So there's a lot of content out there where there's a lot of ambiguity. Even when I try to get questions, we have a lot of people who try to supply questions to us, and we try to get questions built for our material or for our tests, etc. We realize that there's the content that comes to us is a lot of ambiguity inside it, and I'm not sure most of the institutes have a very strong method to actually weed out that ambiguity. And what happens is, if you're preparing or you're trying to build your verbal ability, ability in verbal ability and reading comprehension, the ability to solve questions correctly, and you're doing it on questions which are ambiguous, then you are basically preparing with a shifting ground under you, and you will never really understand what it actually takes. So if you see, I'm not saying that CAT questions don't have ambiguity, but if you look at the CAT papers of the last 10 years, 15 years, whatever is available, you'll realize that out of 50 questions in reading comprehension, there's ambiguity maybe in one question, or even there's a justification for the right answer, which is maybe 55% strong versus a 45% for the wrong answer. So you will see that the ambiguity is very, very low in the actual exam. And agar tum prepare kar rahe ho with poorly built exercises in verbal, where one way of thinking on the question gives you one answer, the other way, which is equally strong, gives you the other answer, and it's a 50-50 call, and the author of the question has decided that this is the answer, then you will never learn what exactly it takes to solve verbal. At the same time, you can't do the questions on verbal by just doing the CAT papers, because of the fact that CAT papers also have to be preserved for your mocks. I'll talk about that a little bit later in this video, about how the taking the previous year CAT papers as part of mocks is an important part of the strategy. But please remember one thing, that if you're going to waste your CAT papers on your verbal preparation just because you don't have the right content for practicing, what happens is you then are short-changed during your mock test taking phase. So that's where something like my book with Meenakshi ma'am comes into the picture, where we have tried to make sure that the ambiguity is weeded out, and there's absolutely one clear answer on every question. I mean, I'm not saying that There will be absolutely no ambiguity. But yes, the level of ambiguity in our books and this thing with respect to verbal questions, since we keep continuously updating the books and keep weeding out the questions where there is any scope of two ways of thinking to give you two different answers, you will see that the quality of the exercises, be it verbal ability, be it any question type in verbal ability, or be it reading comprehension, is pretty strong. And hence, while you're building your ability to solve questions, where you're doing your problem solving, whether it's assisted or self, without time limits, where you're saying that, okay, let me learn how to get 10 out of 10 questions right in RC, how to get 10 out of 10 questions right in parajumbles. When you're doing that phase, you can actually utilize the resources in our books to actually get that framework in your head. Okay, what am I looking for essentially? Of course, English improvement also involves reading articles so that you can understand. The quality of your understanding of 800-word articles is going to be important, because that's what CAT will give you. So you'll do a lot of that. You will also do a lot of vocabulary if your vocabulary is weak. And vocabulary does not just mean dictionary and words. Vocabulary also means phrases and idioms, because that's the gap between a non-native speaker and a native speaker of the language. So make sure that when you're doing your word level building, you just don't focus on vocabulary, but also use the process of or also use the key elements of idioms and phrases to build your ability on the language. So that's typically it. And once you build your ability across 3 to 4 months, you go to a mock test. And when you get into mock tests, the idea has to be to go to around 50 mock tests, through around 50 mock tests. And typically, if you start a mock test sometime in June, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, and 5, June, July, August, September, October, November. So by default, that's 30 tests. So and you want to back end more tests towards the end. So the last 3 months, you can actually go to something like 10 to 15 tests a month, so that you finish 50 tests. And at MindWorks, we give you 2 test series. And if you were looking at a high quality test series this year, you can actually plan to take the MindWorks test series. There are 2 different tests, three parts of a test series actually. One is the Arun Sharma CAT challenge, which is question or papers which I have built over the past few years based on what the CAT is. That's around 25 mocks, which we give every year. We give you 18 replicats. The replicats are the actual CAT papers of CAT 17 to CAT 23. The 18 slots, different slots, two each for 2017 to 19 and 3 each for 2020 to 23. So 18 papers. And the way we kind of release these tests for you is that you take a couple of mocks and then you take a replicat, so that at every point of time, you know that where your preparation is in the context of an actual CAT, because a mock is a mock. It's not the actual exam. So at various points in your preparation, you want to actually know what would happen with your current preparation in actual CAT paper. So that's why we give the replicats. And then a very important test series for us this year is what we are calling the CAT Experiences test series. CAT Experiences is something which I've also built into the 11th edition of my Quants book and the 11th edition of our verbal book. And essentially, that's kind of, it's one of the special sections of those editions of the book. And those of you looking at purchasing the latest editions can actually go through that. And we have built those questions so that you actually get that actual taste of the exam. And once you've finished all the chapters and you've finished all the entire studies of the book by solving it a couple of times and getting through 95% questions on self-problem solving mode, and then we are trying to say, okay, take these CAT experiences and try to see what you're able to do in the exam. So that's something that's coming into the 11th editions. And at MindWorks, we also bring as I said, we are bringing a CAT experiences test series, which is going to be 9 high-quality tests, which are going to be built by me specifically, with the verbal being built by Meenakshi ma'am and Vinay sir. And you will see that quality-wise, just like my books, there's nothing close to the quality of the CAT experiences test series that's going to come up. So that's going to be there, and we want to. It's going to be a very reasonably priced product because we want the maximum number of students who are taking the CAT this year to actually get that CAT experiences through those 9 tests. So that's what the tests will look like, and your timeline should have the test, as I said, typically just split it this way, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5 in each of the 6 months from June to November. And then you add 10 to the last 3 months. So 30 or 10 to the last 2 months. So add 10 tests to September and 10 tests to October. So typically that will create a 50 tests. If you're starting a test series a little later, you might want to change it a little bit more. We'll come up with a mock test taking strategy video very soon separately for on this channel. So do follow the channel for that. If you're not subscribed, please do subscribe the channel so that you do not miss out on important videos and updates that we'll bring out for you with respect to your CAT preparation and so many other things that we have planned to work on this through the videos in the channel. And one last message which I want to give you, we also have a Telegram channel which is Arun Sharma and Mindworks mentorship group, personal mentorship group. So you can actually connect to me on a one-to-one basis through that Telegram group. The link for the group will be provided to you in the description of the video, so you can join the group, and we'll be regularly sending you high-quality content and resources as well as advisory with respect to your CAT preparation. So through the entire journey of preparation, one of the things that I also wanted to talk to you about was if you're planning to take coaching, do look at the Mindworks program. At the Mindworks program, our philosophy of building the program is typically steeped in what I've been talking about. We realize that we have to build the ability of students to solve questions in verbal, in quants, in data interpretation and logical reasoning. And my 30 years of experience and my team's 20-25 years of experience of training people, lakhs of students across the country, through that, the insights we've got in terms of what are the hurdles for a student to actually build his ability is something we realize. And in fact, a lot of students do give us that feedback that when they're watching a video, when they're doing a class of mine or one of our teachers, a lot of times what happens is you get a doubt in your mind, and before you ask the doubt, the teacher has already explained it. So that is something that happens because of the fact that we have taught this over and over again. And whatever doubts you're going to have in your thinking is not going to be unique to you. It's something we have already faced over the last so many years. So the Mindworks program is a very robust program that focuses on ability building. So there is a complete set of classes by multiple teachers on every topic, which helps you. So typically around 8 to 10 teachers ka quants, including mine, the complete course on quants, and 8 to 10 teachers of verbal and 8 to 10 teachers of data interpretation and logical reasoning, complete courses on building ability, and then complete courses focused on building speed. So the idea is that it's like a platter. The program is like a platter, and if you can actually pick and choose, like a buffet. You can actually pick and choose whatever you want to, so that you are not short on resources at Mindworks as a Mindworks student. So while I strongly recommend you to join us for a coaching program, if you're serious about taking a coaching, this is not something where I'm trying to sell the course to you. I will never tell you that you should join us. But all I'm trying to say is that in case you decide to take a coaching program, do check out the Mindworks program and compare it to the quality and the depth with respect to the other courses, etc. that you're getting out there, be it an online course or a course from a local franchised coaching institution or a local institution with a few teachers teaching you. Just compare them together before you take an informed decision about the program. The reason why I'm saying that is because a lot of people come to us having studied at X, Y, Z institutes across, and then they come to us in 2 days, in 15 days of our training, they realize what CAT was, which they did not get in 6 months of a coaching experience at some place. So I mean, I'll just say one last thing. 30 years is a lot of experience and if I've applied my intelligence and my brain, my ability to think through as a problem-solving situation. I mean, my initial decision to actually train people when I started training people, and I took a decision of not going into the corporate sector where I could have been CEO, president of some company by now. When I took that decision, I took the challenge very, very seriously. And what I tried to do I started getting students, maths खराब है, maths नहीं आता है, कैसे उसको CAT clear करना है, English नहीं आता है, CAT clear करना चाहते हैं. So we try to create a process which focuses on maths नहीं आता है तो maths कैसे, how do you get to a point where you first build the ability to solve 8-10 questions, then you build the ability to solve 17-18 questions, and then you actually can do the efficiency part of the building. So we actually created the processes, and as I said, do not come to us because of me teaching or because of any of the teachers teaching. Come to us because of the process we follow for the exam. So do consider the MindWorks course if you are taking a serious attempt at CAT and you're looking at a serious coaching institution.